Today, we are going to start with our first topic on oral literature, and we are going to start by asking ourselves, what is oral literature? Oral literature is a spoken acted art which uses mouth as a medium of communication. For example, the picture below shows a grandfather narrating a folktale to his grandchildren, and you can see the grandfather is raising his hands. That one is what we call acting, is acting. As he talks, he uses gestures like lifting the hand. You can see him lifting the hand, and the grandchildren are keenly listening. We find that the spoken word and the performance are the important features of oral literature. The diagram below illustrates the spoken and acted performance. So we have said that when you are defining oral literature, you should not omit two words. That is spoken and acted. As you can see, the girls here, they are dancing a traditional dance, and you can see them singing the song orally. At the same time, you can see them dancing. That is what we call performance. So you can see the definition of oral literature is so clear. It is a spoken, acted art that uses the word of mouth as medium of communication. So our next subtopic that we are going to look at, we'll ask ourselves, why should we study oral literature? The first reason why we study oral literature, it helps in nation building. As we can see, through oral literature, we are able to work, live together in peace and harmony as people of one nation, because we become enlightened about our shared common heritage. We are going to look at this picture below. You can see it's a police band, and you can see they are singing together. They're entertaining the nation. As you can see, they come from different communities. In this picture, we get some are Luos, some are Kikuyus, some are Kambas, some are Kalenjin, but you can see they are working together in peace and harmony. Why? Because they love their country, and they can appreciate each other. That's why you can see them working together as a nation. The other reason why we study oral literature is to preserve and maintain culture. We can see it is crucial to appreciate and preserve our culture, which is really couched in oral literature. As we grow, we know we have grown in a dynamic world, things are changing. We no longer go to the villages to visit our people. Most of us have grown in the city. They have raised their children in city, and they don't know their traditions. But oral literature helps us to preserve and appreciate our cultures. That's why you see the Maasai people wearing the shukas. Why? Because they love their culture and they appreciate their culture. You can see he's a Maasai warrior, and you can see he's clothed in their shukas. You can see the ornaments on the neck. You can see the plating of their hair. This is their culture. So you can see we're in the 21st century, but the Maasai Moran has not abandoned his culture. So we find that oral literature helps us to preserve and maintain our culture. And you can see he's smiling. Why? Because he loves his culture. The other reason why we study oral literature is for cultural understanding and maintenance. Oral literature helps us to appreciate cultural practices of different communities. We find that when you look in our neighborhood where we are living, you'll find that most of our neighbors are not from your own tribe. If you are a Luo, you'll get maybe your neighbor is a Kikuyu. The other neighbor may be a Kalenjin. And you can see you live together in peace and harmony. Why? Because you can be able to appreciate each other's culture. We can see some huts here, traditional huts. We tend to believe they were Luo huts. And we find that most of them are found in the museum. And so people pay to go and appreciate other people's culture. When you look at the picture on our screen, you can see this is a polygamous family, whereby we find that traditionally people are marrying more than one wife. This is the head of the family, and you can see the wives here and the children playing together in peace and harmony. So we get to understand each other's culture. We appreciate where the Luos come from, we appreciate where the Kambas come from, and so on. So the other reason why we study oral literature is for socialization. So oral literature is a social process that always involves more than one person to complete. We find that when we were children, we had riddles. In Kiswahili, we call them vitendawili, whereby we find that we could play with other children from different communities. We could challenge each other with riddles. And at the end of the day, that is what we call socialization, because we could play with each other irrespective of where the person comes from. You can see that these are people from a community where they are displaying their talent, their traditional practices. You can see they are, one of them holding a drum, and then you can see the other people are listening to them. They are appreciating them. So you can see this is a holiday whereby they are going to be entertained. So you can see it creates socialization. The other reason why we study oral literature, it educates. Oral literature educates through songs, narrative, poetries, and proverbs. It praises vices like hard work, while it mocks vices like laziness, selfishness, etc. We find that through oral literature, there are songs which are sung to criticize lazy people, and there are some songs which are sung to praise hardworking people. So through oral literature, we learn that laziness is condemned in our society, while hard work is praised in our society. When you look at this picture, we can see two people there. There are two farmers. They are harvesting papayas, red, and you can see they are really working hard, both the man and the woman. Why? Because through oral literature, they have always been told to be hard workers. That's why you can see they are really working hard to earn a living out of the papayas red. So the other reason why we study oral literature, it is for economic empowerment. And we say people have built successful careers from oral literature. Nowadays, there are many groups commercially engaging in storytelling and traditional dancing. We find that when we visit places like Bomas of Kenya, we find a lot of traditional dancers displaying their dances, and at the end of the day, they are paid some cash. We also find some people narrating stories, traditional narratives, and by the end of the day, they go home with some money. So that's why we say oral literature helps us to improve our economic standard. And so we are going, when we look at this picture, you can see these are Maasai warriors. And when you look beside them, you can see tourists watching them. You can see the tourists are really happy to be entertained by these Morans. And we find that at the end of the day, they will be paid some money, which will help them improve their living standard. And you can see them displaying their talent. That is jumping up. And you can see they have also been dressed in their Maasai attires. The other reason why we study oral literature is to enhance creativity and verbal skill. People compose their own songs, narratives, poems and present the items live to audience as they use word as a medium of communication. When we say that it enhances creativity, what do I mean? We find that most of the artists in our country today, they come up with narratives, which they sell to people, maybe in school level, where the school uses it in the drama festival, in the music festival, and so on and so forth. So we find also it enables our verbal skills. Let's say, for example, you have come up with a song, and then you sing it in front of people. It enables your verbal skills to be very proper. You can be able to face a crowd and talk to people in courage and without stammering. Why? Because you find both your creativity and your verbal skill has been enabled. That's why we say oral literature enhances creativity and verbal skills. When you look at this picture, we find this is a carving, which has been carved by a person. Why? Because of his creativity. When we look at this end, we can see this is a man. When you look at the other end, we can see this is a man. When you look at the center, we can see it's a woman. And the woman is trying to bring peace between the two men. You can see the two men are holding weapons, ready to fight each other. You can see the children at the far end, pleading with them to stop fighting. And you can see them crying. So we can see a woman there has been used to bring peace between the two men. And you can see it has been done through someone's creativity. So for today, we had only that in oral literature, and we are going to continue from there. When I come in the next lesson, we'll be looking at genres of oral literature. So make sure before the next lesson, go and do some research on genres of oral literature. There are so many. There are like 6 of them, starting from oral narratives, songs, riddles, tongue twisters, puns and jokes, and proverbs. So make sure you do a thorough research so that next time when I come, it will be a very interactive lesson. Have a good day. Make sure next time you are tuned in the same station at the same time.